How's it going, guys? I hope you guys have had a phenomenal week and have a fun weekend planned. Plenty of activity, use the sun, no drinking, no junk food, keep everything in check. But I hope you guys are really enjoying the process right now. So, Friday masterclass. Last week we covered nutrition. This week I want to cover something equally as important. Something that you actually really need to get a grasp on if you ever want to have the physique that you want. Like that defined, kind of jacked, nice curvature to the muscles, full muscle bellies. Something that you need to get a grasp of for you to actually progress. How to progress in the gym. This is such an important topic because what I'm going to cover today is probably why in the past you have felt when you look around the gym and you go, how is he more jacked than me? How are they making more progress than me? I'm working out, I'm showing up. How come I see them here all the time as well when I'm here, but they just look better than me? If you've got the nutrition aspect covered, like we covered last week, and you implement what I'm going to talk about today, your physique is endless. This is like the key component to why we lift weights, right? How to actually progress, how to build muscle, how to look better. This is such an important topic. And what I'm going to speak about is how to progress from beginner to intermediate to experienced to advanced so that you can always see muscle growth, like for the rest of your life, right? But first, I need to tell you a story. So this story is of Milo from Croton. Milo from Croton was a absolutely fierce warrior, incredibly strong. He used to wear, he's a legend. If he was true or not sure, but there's a lot of literature on him, so he could actually be a real person. But um, he was an absolute mammoth of a guy, right? He used to go into battle with nothing but a wooden club and wearing a lion's head round him. He was described as being a mountain of a man, absolutely huge. Not only was he incredibly good in battle and absolutely pivotal for some wars that were fought and battles that were fought and the success of Croton winning, but he was also an Olympic athlete all the way back in 500 BC when the Olympics were kind of just starting. He was considered the best, right? He was a wrestler and he had five Olympic medals, he had 5 wins, and he also remarkably did this reportedly into his late 40s. So not only was he going up with younger people, but he was doing it into his late years, right? And that's quite old for 500 BC. So people would come to view him, right? Because he was such a mountain, because he would dominate everyone, because he was so jacked and huge and strong. He would attract thousands upon thousands of people just to see him at the Olympic Games. He was also reportedly so incredibly strong, he would just show his feats of strength, right? He used to tie a rope around his neck and tie it down onto the ground and snap like a thick rope with just his neck muscles. He was so strong that he would put fruit in his hand and ask if anyone could, or get people to try and take out his hand. He would never crush the fruit, but no one was ever able to get the fruit out of his hand like an apple, right? He was so immensely strong that he would challenge himself, like people trying to push him out of circles, like in a kind of wrestling format, and no one was ever able to do it. He was an absolute mammoth, right? But he didn't start that way. He, as a boy, was a farmer. He didn't come from wealth. He didn't have a exceptional family. His family were farmers as well, poor. He was skinny, scrawny, to the point that people used to make fun of him because of how small he was. He was nothing special. But what he did made him special. So, as a boy working on a farm, he given a cow, a bull. And he started this kind of unique habit of carrying the cow. Every single day, he would carry the cow. For whatever reason, he found it easier for moving the cow, for playing with the cow, because the cow was his pet, right? This was his friend, because everyone else picked on him. And he carried that cow every single day. Every single day. And something exceptional started to happen. The cow gained about a pound per week. So nothing much. But Croton, or Milo, would carry that cow. He would carry that cow every single day. And let me move me up there. And as that cow grew, he also grew. But it was at such a slow rate that no one really realised. So for years, people still picked on him. The weird guy that carries the cow, skinny, scrawny, poor, from the farmer background. People made fun of him. He wasn't liked. He wasn't anything special. He kept on carrying that cow. And by the time he was 17, the cow weighed over 800 pounds. And he was still carrying it because he carried it from when he was a kid all the way up till now. And then he kept on carrying the cow. And the cow got over 1,000 pounds. And he was able to put the cow on his shoulders like it was nothing. As he did this, he progressively got stronger. People started to notice. People realised that what a monumental task that was. And people started to come to just see him lifting the cow. And this is the concept of something that's so incredibly important. It's progressive overload. I think progressive overload is one of the most fascinating things about the body, about what we can do to our bodies. Because progressive overload essentially has no limit. Progressive overload, you can constantly keep on building muscle, you can constantly keep on getting stronger just by doing a little bit more every single time, just by doing a little bit more than what you did before. And that is what is so incredibly important for you going to the gym and trying to build muscle. But it's what made Milo absolutely monumental in size, because he lived his entire life every single day doing physical labor, but while carrying this cow. As the cow got heavier, he got stronger. So, how can you take that and actually implement it? So, from a beginner standpoint, from starting the gym out, anything you do in the gym will work. Because if you go from not lifting anything to starting to lift several times per week, your muscles aren't used to it. So you're going to grow muscle, right? It's never done it before. Now it's doing it consistently. It's going to work no matter what you do. But this is a really, really fundamental part in any lifter's journey, is using this time where anything will work to master form and to get your technique right. Because what you do not want to do is becoming like an advanced lifter that can't squat, that can't lift, that has poor form. Because it's really hard to unlearn bad habits when it comes to lifting weights. So in this stage, it's really, really important that all you do is get to the gym 3-4 times per week. And you focus on just trying to do the exercise as well as you possibly can. So that's where form videos comes in, right? Make sure you're sending those over. But like here, it's really, really important to just learn how to do the movement patterns. Learn how to squat, learn how to bench, learn how to do your compounds. So your big compounds are like bench, squat, deadlifts, overhead press, barbell rows. Learn how to do those, learn how to do those well. And then learn your accessories, like lateral raises, all those wee biceps, triceps, skull crushers, all these wee small things. It's just about learning how to do them, right? Focusing on the quality of the movement rather than lifting heavier weights or doing anything like that, or trying to ego lift straight out of the bag because you see someone else lifting it. From there, intermediate, as you're taking that skill of being able to do the exercises properly, and now we are thinking about progressive overload, right? So this is maybe after month 2, we're moving into this, right? So progressive overload now starts where for every single exercise I give you, you will always have a rep range. So it'll be like 8 to 12, right? Let's use that example. So what you want to do is to start with a weight that you can do good form for 8 reps. Your goal is to build up to the top of the rep range. So the next week, you try and get 9 or 10. The following week, you might get up to 11 or 12 at the top of the rep range. From there, after you've climbed up in reps every time you've been into the gym with the same weight, with the same form, you then want to increase the weight. And it can be by a big amount or a small amount. It could literally be by the 0.5 plates, the 1 kilo plates, the 2.5 kilo plates, or it could be 5 or 10 kilos added to the side of the bar, whatever it may be, right? But your goal is to increase the weight, no matter how big or small that is, as long as the form stays tight. And what that will do is mean that you can no longer get 12 reps. You're going to come back down to the bottom of the rep range, somewhere around 8. And then you rinse and repeat. You climb your way up to the top of the rep range every time you go into the gym. You look at your app, you see what you did last week, and you then do more reps. You go through that process with everything. It's all about beating what you did last time. You run that, you run that, you run that, and that's why my programs usually last around 12 weeks, sometimes up to 20, just based off of how much you're progressing. Because there will be a point where you struggle to progress more, but you run that for a good amount of time so that you can actually see progression. That's why we don't want to change the program too often, because you need opportunities to get better at these exercises so that you can build the reps, you have enough time to build the reps, and you have enough time to then build the weight as well. So always build to the top of the rep range, increase the weight so you go back down and build again. That's progressive overload. That's the key to having a workout program. That is why you track your weights in the app, because you need to know how you can beat yourself from last week. So from there, going on to stage 3, which is experience. Now you can know how to do the exercise properly. Now you know how to install progressive overload. The next thing we want to look at is intensity. So intensity is pretty much how close to failure you are getting. So proximity to failure. The more times you hit failure in a session, the more muscle you will grow, right? Muscle will only build, you will only get signals to build muscle, or you will only give your body signals to build muscle if you are challenging it. If you are trying to get it to do something it's never done before, right? Because essentially what happens is if you do a really heavy set, right, of something, and your body goes, oh, I didn't like that. I couldn't do that. That did not feel good. I felt weak. That felt bad. So what I'm going to do is build some muscle so that I'm stronger, so that, you know what, if that arsehole makes me do that again, I'm not as panicked by it. It's not as hard. It's not as challenging. I don't fail, right? So that's how it works. So failure is described as either you can't complete the rep, right? So you go down in a squat and you can't get back up. Or you can't complete the rep with the good form, right? If your form breaks down in order for you to be able to do it, then that's failure, right? So if your form goes weird, like you start trying to do stuff like that. So what you want to do here is start off now with the heaviest stuff. So warm up and start off with the heaviest weight you want to do, right? So say it's squats. You start off with the maximum weight for set 1 after you've done your squat warm up, right? And you should push so unbelievably hard on that set that you shouldn't be able to do it another time. You shouldn't be able to do that same weight for the same amount of reps, right? You might be able to do it for a second set, but you definitely shouldn't be able to do it for a third set. That's how you know intensity is right. If you can't repeat it because your body's literally so tired, because after one set you hit failure and your body doesn't have the energy to do it again. So from there, once you've done maybe 1 or 2 sets, you then want to decrease the weight, right? So you can then go as hard as you possibly can towards failure, right? And then you've hit failure another time, but with a lighter weight. So this is called a descending set, where you start with the heaviest and you go lighter and lighter for how many ever sets I program you, whether it's 2, 3, or 4, right? So start with the heaviest, then go lighter. Each time you're trying to hit failure with that new lighter weight. The more times you hit failure, the more muscle you will grow, right? And now advanced. So as you get more advanced, it gets harder and harder to add on more weight, right? At the beginning, you can get really strong quite fast, but as you get more experienced, it gets harder to be able to go up in increments of adding weight on, as you did at the beginning or when you were kind of more intermediate or experienced. As you get to more advanced, we have to get more advanced with our methodology towards it, right? So here's a couple of things that you can do that allow you to get stronger, allow you to grow more muscle without just adding more weight all the time, right? So the first one is my favorite one, is tempo. Tempo is nice, slow and controlled reps. So tempo is split up into 4 different numbers. Each exercise has 4 distinct phases. So let's go for a bicep curl. When you come up, when you pause at the top, when you go down, when you pause at the bottom. For squats, it's when you go down, it's phase 1, pause at the bottom, phase 2, up, phase 3, pause at the top for phase 4. So a tempo I really, really like is up for 1 second, squeeze for 2 seconds, down for 1 second, and pause for 2 seconds. That can be applied to pretty much everything, but the more time you have lifting that weight means that your muscle has to work way harder, even though it's using a weight that it is used to. So for example, if a normal squat takes you 2 seconds to go down and up, if that squat now takes 8 seconds to do 1 rep, well fuck, your muscles have to work a lot harder. End of set techniques. So these are ways that we can intensify the end of your set so that you're hitting failure. You don't want to do these for every single set because you're going to fatigue yourself way too early and you're not going to be able to lift like a heavy weight. But it's a really good tactic to get more weight in, or to get more reps in, and to get closer to failure and hit failure more. So the first thing is a drop set. So say you do 3 sets, your last set, the 4th set, you might want to do a drop set, which is where you use the 20 kilo bar for bicep curls and then you drop to 15 bar and go again without any rest. So the weight's lighter, so you get a couple more reps in. Myo reps or rest pause reps. So rest pause is where you do, say, a set of squats and you get 8 reps. If you do the 9th, you'll fail. But on the 8th rep, you re-rack it, you come out, you wait for 10 to 15 seconds, and you go back in. And you try and get 1, 2, 3 more reps. And then you rack it and you're done. That can be done for everything. That can be done for bicep curls, lateral raises, whatever it may be. You take a wee pause and then you go again. And you just try and get a couple more. Myo reps is that just taking to another level. So you do that process and you repeat it 1, 2, 3 times. So you do your squats, you do 8 reps, you get another 3 or 4 reps. You then rest 10 to 15 seconds, you go again, you get another 2 reps. You then rest, put the bar back up, take your 10 to 15 seconds, and you go again, right? That is myo reps. And then the last one that's really just for advanced lifters is pre-exhausting a muscle. So the whole goal here is you use accessory work before the compounds. So accessory work being your leg extensions, your hammy curls, stuff like that, like the machine-based stuff, usually. You do that before you go on to squats. So that your muscles are now tired, right? They're already fatigued. but you're going into those heavy compounds like squats or leg press or lunges and trying to do as close to the weight that you would normally do. And it means that you don't have to lift as heavy. You're going into that exercise with already tired muscles, so it's going to be harder from the get-go. And then what you do from there is you try and progress the pre-exhaustion exercises like leg extensions before then going on to trying to progress the compounds, right? So you're trying to lift heavier, do more reps with the leg extensions, and then you're going on to squats and you're still trying to lift heavier and do more reps. So that works, but you need to be able to, one, have very good form, and two, know how to like pre-exhaust properly and have good intensity in those pre-exhaustion things. You need to be able to push hard in both the pre-exhaustion and still push hard in the compounds. So, for summary, beginners, master the basics, master form and consistency we get into the gym. Intermediates, progress through the reps and then increase weight and repeat. Experienced, start heavy, descend in weight, hit failure as many times as possible. And advanced, intensifiers, drop sets, tempo reps, pre-exhaustion, myo reps, rest pause. And remember that if you want the physique that you are looking for, growth only happens when you can do today when you do today what you found hard yesterday. You always need to be progressing. You always need to be pushing yourself in some way. So this is a kind of full masterclass on how to progress in the gym. If you ever hit a plateau in the gym, and your physique's not changing and you're not building muscle, it's probably because you're not doing this. You're not pushing hard enough. You're not installing one of these mechanisms to getting your physique. And truthfully, we don't just go to the gym to lift weights. We don't want to do it mindlessly. We want to do it with actual technique, with actual strategy, so that you do build muscle and you're not wasting time. Because a gym session where you do less than you did last week, or you don't progress, is probably a wasted session. Unless you're ill, unless you're tired, unless something's going on, right? You always want to be progressing. If you're not progressing, speak to me and we'll talk about it and we will decide what feature, what aspect of this you need to do to be able to progress. So full masterclass done on how to master the gym, how to build muscle, how to get strong as fuck. Hope you have an awesome weekend and peace.